Well, hey there, friends. So many of you have responded so well to me talking about my Kenya trip. I wanted to share some photos and stories with you. And so I thought this would be a great way to do it so that you can hear stories and see some pictures. So I recently had the opportunity to go to Kenya for a couple of weeks on a mission trip, and it's just so awesome to see God show up. So I wanted to show you a little bit and let you in on some of the God stories. This is our team that went, and we actually had two teams in our midst here. We had one team that went to Empowering Lives International and one team that went to Living Room. These are two amazing ministries in Kenya, and I got the privilege of kind of bouncing back and forth between both teams so that I could meet both of these missionary organizations and learn more about them. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about each one. And I want to give a shout out to my friend Jimmy Higgins because he drove us all to the airport. Loved it. Thanks, Jimmy. Once we got there, we started. I'm going to do kind of Empowering Lives first, and then I will talk about Living Room. But Empowering Lives International is an amazing organization. They work with their goal is to crush poverty. And so they work in a lot of different villages. Some of them are kind of remote, but this is one of their mission objectives, and that is to work and care for orphans. And so they have two different locations where they have children's homes. And so this was me being welcomed by one of the children's homes. And you can see so many of the kids here. These are all orphans that are now under the care of Empowering Lives International. And they do such a beautiful job of caring for them and helping them to feel part of a family. So we had the chance, our team here, to meet some of the ones that are sponsored. Empowering Lives International offers sponsorships so that you can be part of these children's journeys. And it was really special to get to meet some of these kiddos. Here I am with Arnold, and he is just a little guy. He just turned 5. So we started sponsoring him at age 4. He was very, very shy. But once I broke out the Tonka truck, he was getting a little bit more excited about talking to me. This is where the children live. They have these round homes, and the way that they're organized is in groups of 3. So the first home is the house parents with their own family, and then they have 2 others that are connected to that house parents family. One is a home for girls. There's 12 bunk beds there, and 12 girls live there, and the other is for 12 boys. So one family unit is 24 children with a set of house parents and then the house parents' children as well. So this is an example of where their bunk beds are and where they keep their belongings, and they get up and take care of their clothes and their chores, and then they are off to school. They go to school at 6:30 in the morning, have breakfast here at the children's home, and then go to school, come back to the children's home for lunch, go back to school, and then come home for dinner, and then go back to school. And they finish up with school around 6:30, 7:30 at night. So it was pretty amazing. While we were driving around to some different places, we saw kids just walking home in the dark. And so they spend a lot of time at school. They learn both Swahili and English. So it was a really fun community to be a part of because we could communicate with our English, which was fun. There's all kinds of opportunities for the kids to learn skills at the children's home, and one of them is bread making. And so this is some of the delicious bread loaves, and they'll have usually one or maybe 2 kids come in, and they'll have them help with the bread making so that they can be learning that skill. They've got some really beautiful property where kids can play soccer. They call it football. And football is very popular by everybody in Kenya, especially the kids love it. You can see a playground there. And then a second part of the Ministry of Empowering Lives International is Women of Change. And many of the villages in Kenya really struggle with alcoholism. And there's this toxic brew that they make. It means kill me quick in Swahili. And a lot of women are illegal brewers. It's illegal to brew it, and they can get imprisoned for it. And but then it just really deteriorates the quality of life in a home and in the village. So when the women are brewers, often the husbands are alcoholics, the children don't go to school, and the whole kind of community just goes into this collapse. So Empowering Lives International has gone into these villages and worked with the chiefs and invited them to be part of a program called Women of Change. And they invite the women to come to a training center at Empowering Lives International and teach them different skills so that they have options rather than illegal brewing. They call it God honoring work. And I love that. So they teach them about agriculture and farming. So here our team was able to meet with some of the women of change, and we brought some beading and bracelets. And so it was really fun to get to sit and talk and make bracelets together. Such a beautiful opportunity to do that. This is one of their teaching gardens. And so Empowering Lives has these demo gardens all over to demonstrate the skills of what it means to be able to grow food sustainably and be able to sell food for profit and be able to feed their families. And so just really a lot of beautiful opportunities to see some amazing rehabilitation work that Empowering Lives International is doing. One opportunity the team had was to go to a women's prison. So these are all ladies raising their hands to say, yes, we want to live our lives with Jesus. And you can maybe see in the picture there's a woman holding a baby, and they get to keep their children with them in prison until the age of 4. And then they have to go back into the community to live with a family member if the woman is still imprisoned. So this was a really powerful opportunity to get to share Jesus and the hope that he has with these women. Most of them are in because they were convicted of illegal brewing. One opportunity we had was to go out to a more remote village, Sharangani, and on our way out there, we did just a little stretch break, stopped at the roadside, and these men were just kind of wandering around. And so one of my teammates said, "Hey, do you guys know Jesus? We'd love to pray with you." And so they kind of shyly walked over, and we had a moment of impromptu evangelism and sharing Jesus and getting to pray with them there on the road. When we got to the village of Sharangani, we were welcomed by Women of Change. This is a village that has seen just complete transformation thanks to Empowering Lives International. A few years ago, our church had sent a team, and it was just filled with alcoholism in this village. And now, when we got there, because of the work that ELI has done, the women think that there's only 2 illegal brewers left in the whole community. So these are all women of change. And the Kenyan way is to welcome people with singing and dancing. And so we just had a beautiful time of being welcomed and ushered into their community with singing and dancing. We were invited to stay at Chief Thomas's house. So the villages are organized and led by chiefs, and he has an administration and his assistant chief. And so this is at Chief Thomas's home. He brought so many people from the surrounding area to bring greetings and welcome us. And so they put chai on the table. Chai is a very popular drink made with fresh milk and herbs, very delicious. And so this was us being welcomed and receiving many greetings from chiefs in the area, different chiefs from the villages, different local pastors, Sunday school leaders, administrations from villages. It was a very warm welcome. These are some pictures you can see from Chief Thomas's home. You can see a woman here washing some dishes. They don't have restrooms, outdoor running water, that kind of a thing. So everything's done by hand. And you can see some of the beautiful plants that have been started in these orchards. The middle one is coffee beans, and the far side, the far right, is avocado trees. And so this beautiful land of Kenya is being transformed in these villages by the skills being taught by Empowering Lives International to help bring God honoring work and sustainable economics to villagers who have just been in the grasp of poverty. So really beautiful to see the transformation. We were invited to pile into some trucks and head up a mountainside, about an hour and a half drive to the top of an area where the women of change been building a building, and their hope there is to continue to use what they have learned to reach other villagers. And so this is going to be like a meeting hall, a meeting space for the women of change to have their meetings and continue to encourage one another and continue skill training. When we were in the villages, I was kind of an unusual sight for a lot of these children who hadn't seen someone who looked like me. So they loved to be able to touch my skin and touch my hair. We had a lot of fun with that. One of the women of change, this is Alice. We got to go to her home. She welcomed us, and we got to see firsthand the things that she is doing to transform her economic situation through agriculture and through animals. And she was so kind to make us a cake. So you can see there a cake that she had made, and that was a huge treat because they don't have a lot of sweets in Kenya. So that was a very extravagant gesture for her to make us a cake. So sweet. This is another woman of change. This is Grace that we met, and she was showing us her avocado trees that she's planted, and they just had their first harvest of avocados. So it was a very exciting moment to celebrate with them. I was so surprised and delighted to learn that there are some female chiefs in Kenya. I didn't know that. That's a newer development in Kenya. And so this is Madame Chief. And so I got to meet with her, and I asked her how she likes being chief. And she said, I like being chief and I like being woman. It was so great. So she has invited us to come back to her village next time. Loved it. What we were doing in Shergani is not only seeing the women of change, but we were there to do a children's evangelism rally. And so Empowering Lives International had spread the word that we were going to do a rally, and they kind of had this big field. And so we expected 200 kids is what we planned for. And so this is one of our teammates as the kids were coming in sharing a Bible story about being called to follow Jesus. And that is our friend Edna with Empowering Lives International, who is translating in Swahili. She is just an amazing woman. She has been training Sunday school leaders in the villages for over 30 years. And it's so cool to see. She will recruit people that have a heart for children and leadership, and she has 23 lessons that she takes them through to get a certificate of leadership for being a Sunday school leader. And this is kind of like their children's ministry. Sunday school is what they do to provide an hour service before church service so the kids can come and have learning at their skill level, which was so cool. I'm a big fan of her. She was doing amazing work. So there she is on my right. And then on the other side is a woman named Winsome, who grew up as one of the children's home kids and is now an adult and working for ELI doing social media, photos and pictures. Love both these women. So they had told us to plan for 200, but the kids just kept coming and coming and coming. It was 300, 400, 500, 600, 700. Oh my goodness. We think there was about 1,000 kids there. It just was incredible. Every time we tried to count, more kids kept coming. It was just a sea of children. So it was so beautiful. They were so excited. ELI was just amazed. The largest children's rally they've ever had, it was 400 kids, and we just blew that number out of the water. It kind of felt like Jesus on the Mount of Beatitudes with all the people gathered there, listening to the story. And we just were so delighted to be able to share our lives with the kids and play with them, encourage them, and share Jesus with them. And so many of the kids raised their hands to say, yes, we want Jesus. We want to live for Jesus. And so it was just a beautiful sight. We tried counting, and once again, there was just so many kids. We think there was about 3/4 of the kids that said, yes, we want Jesus in our lives. So such a beautiful moment that we were filled with thanksgiving for. Then we split into some game time. And of course, we had brought games planning for 200 kids, not 1,000. And so we had to get creative. I'd brought 2 spike ball games, which was not enough, but we made do and taught them how to play spike ball there. I brought out some Frisbees and taught them how to play Frisbee, which was so fun. This was a new game for the kids also. And then I brought a couple of kites. And so this was actually one of my funnest moments. We put the kites together and they'd never seen kites before. So I put the crossbows in them and then was trying to explain how to run and then let go of the kite. And the kite goes up and they kept trying it, but they'd unroll all the string and it wouldn't work, or they had too short of string and it wouldn't go up high. But I kept trying to do it. And, mind you, we're at an elevation of 7,000 feet. And so it's just, whew, it's exhausting running there. That's why Kenyans are such good runners. They train at such a high altitude. But I had a couple of boys who were probably 12, 13, 14 right in there, and they figured it out. And it was just the most glorious thing. They both took one of the kites and we're running around this soccer field parallel from each other, and they figured it out and they got it up running high, high, high in the sky, and just these beautiful Kenyan boys running hard and these kites flying, and everybody just stopped and looked up at the kites. All the kids, all the adults, even the adults hadn't seen the kites before. So fun. This was a ceremony where we were being welcomed by a number of the Sunday school leaders. They were so gracious and kind. And then we spent our Sunday, we went up to a village. We parked down at the bottom of that hill and then kind of had to hike up into the village church. And it was really great because Eli said last time they were there, it was a mud hut, but a church from the States had sponsored this village. And so they've been able to build this building, which was exciting. So this was our opportunity to be at Sunday school with the kids for Sunday school from 8:30 to 9:30. And kids raising their hands to say yes to Jesus, and us sharing the lesson and Edna translating. And then we did a group picture of all the kids. There was about 115 kids there, 44 children and 4 adults gave their lives to Jesus that day. So very exciting. And then I got to preach at the adult church service, and this is an ELI community pastor that goes to all the villages to encourage the local pastors. And he translated for me, Nixon. He did such a beautiful job. I preached the story of the crippled woman that Jesus brought forth and healed. And so every motion I did, he followed me, and it was so fun. We had a really powerful time of prayer for healing after the service, and so many people came up and we had an opportunity to pray for the Lord's healing on their lives. So after we finished that, we headed back to Chief Thomas's house, and we had a chicken that we were given. And so we thought, what a perfect way to say thank you to Chief Thomas for his generosity for letting us stay with him. So that's me presenting the chicken to Chief Thomas and his wife to say thank you for letting our team stay with him. Then we headed down to Kip Karen, which is the second location. The first one is in Alula, and the second one is in Kip Karen. So this is the second children's home location, and it's set up very similarly to the first one that I showed you. This was a beautiful moment. One of our team members, she had started sponsoring Raymond on our first trip to ELI in 2018. And so he was there waiting for her when we arrived. And now he is a college student studying electrical engineering, and she's still sponsoring him through college. So really, really fun to be able to connect. We did some great tours around the facility there in Kip Karen to see some of, again, just really extensive opportunities for training for people to go to learn about raising rabbits or cows or vertical gardening, so that these are all skill-based trainings that people do when they come, either the Women of Change, or they now have a Men of Change program too, to teach them skills for sustainable living and to do God-honoring work. They also have a huge food farm down at the Kip Karen location where they raise and grow all the food to feed both of the children's homes. So this is their tilapia farm, where they have tilapia growing in these bins, and it's all connected to hydroponics that goes into to water a lot of their garden area. And then the water is recycled back into the tilapia bins. So really just brilliant the ways that Empowering Lives International has figured out to do sustainable growth for growing food. This is one of the areas that they've planted to harvest food for the children's homes. And you can see they've got vegetables interspersed with fruit, trees that are young that will hopefully grow quickly and be producing fruit for them soon. And then this is called the Jesus Crossover Bridge. This was a really fun place to see that our church had been really involved with. There was two communities on either side of this bridge, and there's a huge river there that was impassable. And the story they told me was that Empowering Lives would come in on one side where they were located and set up a lot of activities, teaching the kids about Jesus, and kids from the other side would come and sit on the side wanting to hear, but they couldn't cross over because of this bridge. And so some people from our church knew about this and decided to go over, and they built this huge steel heavy duty bridge. And so now the two communities are connected, and the kids of course can come over and hear about Jesus, and it's called the Jesus Crossover Bridge. So beautiful. So those are some of the experiences from our first organization. The second one is called Living Room, and Living Room International is a beautiful medical ministry that was started by Julie Boyd. She used to be a missionary with Empowering Lives International, and while she spent a number of years there as a nurse, she noticed that there was no good palliative care, end-of-life care for Kenyans who were dealing with just terminal illness. And so she really wanted to start like a hospice type program. And so she has been over there for many years now, married, has kids, and Living Room has just grown into some really amazing different spaces. And so I want to show you about some of the work that is happening there. Here's some of our medical team that went. We took a medical team of doctor and nurses with different specialty areas that could be involved with the medical work there. Upon being greeted and sung and welcomed into Living Room, we plant a tree. This is their tradition that all the guests plant trees. And so I think we're planting an avocado tree there, which was really fun. This is a connecting area to Micah's house. And Micah's house is one of their newer buildings that specializes in care for kids with terminal illnesses. And it was just built in this beautiful garden area. You can see the playground there. There's a chapel there, just surrounded by beautiful trees and a garden. They didn't want to cut the trees down, but when they had to, they saved the trees and they made the chapel out of the trees so that they could preserve them as best as they could. So at Micah's house there, this is an area for the infants to be able to be treated and cared for. And then these are the hospital rooms for the kids to be able to be in. Living Room has kind of their way is to welcome people in with singing and dancing, and they call all of their patients guests. So they're guests here at Micah's house as long as they need to stay. And they've got a really beautiful treatment plan of not only giving them medical care, but you can see some of the art on the wall. The place has a lot of art. They take the guests out into the garden area. So it's very holistic with spiritual, medical, art, nature to really bring holistic healing as is their approach. Here is some of the team that is there serving the guests at Micah's house. And they have a small hospital that they've built next to it with a men's ward and a women's ward. And so these are some of the physicians and the nurses that were treating them. You can see some of the more art here. This is outside. They've got these beautiful giraffes that have been built. Just so beautiful to see that. And this is Julie, and she's the founder of Living Room, and she was giving us the tour, and you can see art there all next to her that is just filled to encourage and brighten the kids' day. They have a learning area. The kids can go to school while they're there and receiving their treatment, and volunteers can come and read to them. Their parents, they usually have a guardian or a parent with them, so their parent or guardian could go with them and read and do activities and play with them. This is one of my teammates, Daphne with Julie there, and you can see those bright butterflies that are hanging over Micah's house. This was heading into the OR. One of their operating rooms are called theaters. So this is some of our team getting geared up to head into that area. These are two of our teammates. That was with a mama. She had come in to get birth control. She didn't want to have any more children, and then her baby is getting vaccinated. And so, we have a pediatric nurse and a NICU nurse here that was working with her. While we were there, it was so beautiful. Julie has just been blown away by God's goodness, and she was very content to kind of keep a smaller, uh, original kind of it's called a nursing home, Kimbilio, but it's kind of like a hospice care for very sick patients. But God has just continued to expand what they're able to do, and a church has recently donated a lot of money, and they are about to start a 4-story hospital that is going to be added to the ground. So these are the plans for it, and we had an opportunity to pray over the land, the space where this 4-story hospital will be. The estimated time is 18 months to build it, with a cost of $2.2 million. Amazing what they can do in Kenya. And even while our team was there was preparations underway. This is where the 4-story hospital, is going to be placed. And so when our team goes back next year, it's going to be amazing to see. Most of it should be completed. So this was our team had a great opportunity to do a lot of trainings, and so the Kenyans were so happy to receive some of the skills and training that our team brought. And so one of the things that we brought was 2 pediatric dummies, and our team was able to teach the staff some CPR skills using pediatric dummies. And these were some new skills for the Kenyan team to learn to do the CPR and mouth to mouth. And so we were really grateful that we had that opportunity. Here's them practicing a little bit and learning those skills, getting more confident. And again, one of our teammates that was doing some training. This is our physician that went, Dr. Barth Rydell, and he's a hand surgeon. And so this is him. He was able to do, from what I understand, 3 different surgeries that they've actually never even had performed, different techniques, skills that he did in Kenya. So he was able to work alongside a number of physicians and be a teaching doctor as he was there assisting some of the hard cases that they had saved for him. And this is Dr. Rydell and his wife, Daphne. It was really special for them to be able to travel together and be able to serve together on this medical team together. Here's another surgery that's being performed. Here's some of the kids at Micah's house. There's just so much singing and dancing. I was constantly reminded of the Nehemiah verse, "The joy of the Lord is my strength," that there's not a lot of material possessions in Kenya, but boy, there's so much joy. And so that is expressed in beautiful singing and dancing. Here's some of the parents of the kiddos. So lots of games and time. Community is so important here, and so lots of opportunities to have relationships and time to connect with one another. Here's a little boy. This family had walked from Sudan to get to Micah's house for treatment for this little boy. And so, as word spreads about Living Room and what they're able to do, people that have really hard, pressing needs with their kids will travel the distance to get here because they are able to be cared for and receive 3 meals a day and have a place to stay, where a number of the local hospitals just don't have the same level of treatment that they're able to offer at Micah's house for kids. This is the other location, Kimbilio Hospice. And so this was the original location where Living Room started. This is our team in an ambulance, I forgot the name of it, with some of the team there. And one thing that they'll do is house visits. And so they'll able to take the ambulance and usually a medical professional and a social worker and go out in some of the more remote areas to check on some of their patients see how they're doing as they recover. So you can see they're going out on a home visit, and This is just on location at the actual nursing home. Some of the kids that were there, getting to spend time with them and meet them. I was really surprised that a number of the kids I met, I saw, and I thought she was probably like an 8-year-old girl, and asked how old she was, but she was 19. And this little guy, he, looks more like 2.5, 3, but he's 4.5, and just a lot of failure to thrive and struggles with malnutrition that affect the kids. And then with an illness combination can be a really big challenge. This little guy, though, is thriving and doing a lot better. At the end of our time, our two teams got together and we were able to do a safari. So that was a nice way for us to debrief, share the stories of what was happening, what we saw God up to in our midst, and also get to enjoy some of the splendor of God's creation in Kenya. So I have to say, I felt a little bit like I was out in Jurassic Park, just watching these giraffes walk through and bend over and eat the grass, and zebras everywhere. And we were really fortunate to even get to see lions. I guess that's the rare thing. And we saw this big daddy lion quite a distance out. We had parked and we were just kind of looking at him far away. And all of a sudden we were all quiet and we could hear him go, roar. He just roared. And our driver said he's calling the pride. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. So we kind of waited to see if the mama lions came, and they didn't. So we kept going to look at other things. But about 15 minutes later, our Jeep driver did a big U-turn and went back because the mama lions had come. And so there was 3 lionesses, and this guy, he's kind of an adolescent lion. He's just starting to grow his little whiskers there, you can see. And they walked right out of the grass in front of our Jeep and then down the road, and we got to walk with them. So powerful, so amazing. And it just made me think of all the worship songs that we have that, you've got a lion inside of you, or the lion is the Lion of Judah, just the confident, strong presence of those lions is just something I will never forget. So amazing. So we got to see so many fun, beautiful animals. We were so thankful for the opportunity to get to do that. This is our whole team again by a beautiful waterfall, and you can see our t-shirts there. Our theme for our trip was when action meets compassion, lives change. And so not only was that our focus, but truly a reality in seeing both of these incredible organizations, Empowering Lives International and Living Room International, living this out, that they have hearts of compassion and they have put it together with action, and they really are seeing lives changed. So grateful for the opportunity that I had to go. What a powerful, powerful testimony of who God is and what God is able to do. We just saw even miracles happen when we were at the children's rally. So amazing. I mean, we had planned to feed 500 we expected 200 children. They brought food for 500 children, and we had to feed 1,000 kids. And we just had to pray, Lord, would you do another miracle? The fish and the loaves, would you multiply it? And all 1,000 kids got fed. I mean, that is the thing of mission trips, that God just shows up in mighty, spectacular, powerful, supernatural ways. So we are so honored to get to join with these fellow Christians doing the work of Jesus and have a glimpse at the power of the Holy Spirit.